So I've made a decision that I'm probably going to regret. I'm going back to school. And I have a lot of anxieties about it. I'm not going back to school for any of the normal reasons. I'm not trying to get a degree. It's not even really to learn. I am essentially going back to school because I'm bored and I need friends. Hi, I'm Janet. I had a whole career working as a storyboard artist in LA. I worked in Hollywood and I had climbed the ladder to the point of getting a pretty sought-after job at Disney. Quit that job because I was having an existential crisis and moved out of California into Arizona to find myself. Technically, it's a lot more complicated than that. California was just simply very, very expensive and I didn't want to live there anymore. And I also realized Hollywood is just one giant piece of shit and I didn't want that in my life anymore. In the process, I had lost every friend that I've ever made because work was my life, and now that it's not my life, no one wants to be friends with me. So now I live in this small town with no friends and I need to work on that. Unfortunately, I'm an introvert. I'm incredibly socially awkward. So why did I do this to myself if I hate making friends? Because it is good for me. I want to be proactive and actually do something about my life and try to improve it. So I signed up for a class at the local college because why not? Nothing can possibly go wrong if you're 30 years old, you have a degree, you make YouTube videos online, and you're painfully socially awkward. I have a lot of baggage. I don't think I was always so bad at making friends. Actually, I don't think I was bad at all. But because I've recently lost every friend imaginable, I thought everything was great until I quit my job. But clearly I was wrong. I was naive to think that people don't have ulterior motives when they befriend you in the workplace or in college. I have anxieties about not wanting to get hurt again. I worry about, are people going to use me? Are people going to be fake and I won't be able to tell? There's a part of me that wonders if I'm going to mess up the relationship. All of my life, my shyness, rather than coming across as shyness, comes across as mean or cold. I'm someone who tends to be misunderstood a lot. Most of the misunderstandings is probably my fault. I don't really know how to be polite. At least the kind of polite people are here. There's this thing about people in Arizona, it's kind of odd to me. They're very, very, very polite, but in a, how do I describe it? A disingenuous kind of way, where they're never gonna tell you to your face if something bothers them. They're not very confrontational. Meanwhile, I am. For example, if I upset someone and they're telegraphing to me through body language, if I somehow pick up on it, 9 times out of 10 I won't because I'm dense. So I will just straight up say, why are you mad at me? To other people that seems very scary and confrontational, and why would I do that? Why can't I figure out what I did to upset someone? I just can't. I need you to tell me. And none of the passive aggressiveness works on me because it just flies over my head most of the time. And it doesn't really upset me. Most people, when they realize someone's being passive aggressive, they internalize it, they get insecure. I usually don't think I've done anything wrong. I guess that says a lot about me. I also have this tendency in a classroom setting to accidentally make people jealous by working too hard. Usually, I'm someone most people don't think much of at first. I don't really stick out, and I don't really try to, but I do like to work really hard. And I know in a classroom setting, there is some amount of competitiveness to it. I don't really believe there's any good to being that competitive. It just makes you compare yourself to other people in a way that's really unhealthy, and when you could be friends and just help each other out. But I know other people don't really see it that way. I don't really know what it's like to experience jealousy in a small town. I assume it's really intense, especially in a city like Los Angeles, where everyone is doing incredible things with their lives. They're becoming an actor. They have got a job working in tech. There's always going to be somebody better than you, more talented than you, prettier than you. They have more money than you. It's kind of a losing battle in LA to compare yourself to anybody. Tomorrow you might run into a celebrity. There's like paparazzi following them around, and then you realize just how small you really are. Jealousy and comparison I've always thought was a very not useful trait in the city. Because if you're consumed by that, that's something that's gonna be bothering you every single day on a daily basis. Since I know that about myself, that I accidentally make people jealous for no reason, I want to avoid doing that. But how do I do that? How do I appear humble without lying? Because I know people like that too. They're so humble, it feels a little fake. It feels like, oh, I totally don't know how to do something. And then you see their work and it's just the best thing ever. And you go like, why did you lie? Is it to look good? Which is why I hate lying. I have to be honest no matter what, because I know there's a high possibility of that happening. I won't do it. I just won't. I won't lie. I don't think I can do that. So unfortunately, I might be doomed to repeat past mistakes because I don't know how to be any other way. I'm in this strange age where I can't relate to anybody here. I just don't have the same priorities in life as someone in their early 20s. When you're in your early 20s in a small town, everything you do is to try to leave the small town. You don't want to be here. You want to go to LA. You want to go to New York or some big city to live your life, explore the world, and do things that are somehow infinitely more exciting than being here in your dumb small town that is really boring and you can't understand why I moved to it and I like it. That's the feeling I get from people here. But I've lived enough life in the city where a lot of people go to LA to try to make it or at least explore, have an adventure. And I don't think in their early 20s they ever expect to go back home. They really think the move to LA or New York or wherever is gonna be the place they're gonna live for the rest of their life. Over time, I've seen a lot of people, especially in Hollywood, get really nostalgic about their hometown. Because they realize LA is not all that it's cracked up to be. It kind of sucks in a lot of ways compared to your nice small town. It's lonely, a different kind of lonely than I'm experiencing here. No one cares about you. Not the way your friends and family back home do. So I've noticed a lot of people end up moving back home eventually to settle down. Just because I know the young people here who are in high school or in their early 20s want that. I have no business or right to say, maybe you don't actually want that. They have to live their life and experience things the way that they do and come to the realization that LA or New York is not all that it's cracked up to be on their own. Because if I try to convince them or even share my perspective, they won't understand. They're not at the point in their life where they can. Meanwhile, there aren't actually too many people in their early 20s here. Most of the people here are older, much older than I am. And they see me like a grandchild. I don't know if older people have the kind of patience and empathy and kindness towards younger people that I try to have. If anything, I usually just feel judged. Anything that comes out of my mouth sounds stupid to them. And they just think, oh, I'm a dumb, bratty person from California, and they want nothing to do with me. Because who would? I also kind of worry that because everyone knows each other in a small town, that everyone is already gonna be friends, and I'm gonna be the weird one, and no one will want to be friends with me because I am new and different and strange. I guess the complicated part of my situation as well is that I make videos online. So for a really long time, I've tried to always remind myself that I am a nobody. Nobody knows who I am. I have a pretty small channel and I will never get recognized. It helps keep me from getting a big head about myself. But unfortunately, Vincent, my husband, has recently told me, you're not really small anymore. You're not big, but you're not small either. 50K is not small. And he basically told me to get over it. And he's right, I am not. And because this is a small town, I have been recognized. I've been recognized in LA actually, believe it or not. And it's so painfully awkward for me. Oh God, it's so awkward. Okay, so recently I've been recognized a lot more often at the cafe that I go to. I never expect it to happen because I am makeupless, I look like a troll. So I'm over here ordering my tea, it's overflowing, and I'm desperately trying to find a place to sit with my husband. I'm not very self-aware. I don't really observe my surroundings. And then I hear from what seems like across the room, hey, I love your videos. And it's a group of young men, two of them trying their best to hide themselves in embarrassment, and I freeze. I don't know what to say other than thank you. What's going through my head is wanting to strike up a conversation, maybe introduce introduce myself, even though obviously they know who I am. I complain about having no friends. It's an opportunity to make friends. And do I take this opportunity? No. What actually happens is I just stare at them, because all of this is going through my head. I assume I have my resting bitch face on. People have told me that I have a pretty intense one, which probably looks like I'm judging them, so I don't know how I came across. I hope they don't hate me. I am sorry. I should come up with a script on how I should act. I think it's happened about 4 or 5 times, and I still don't know how I'm supposed to act. So what if I show up to class and people already know who I am? What am I supposed to do? I worry that they're going to have preconceived notions about who I am and then avoid me. Recently, Vincent gave me a new fear. He said that it's entirely possible that people dislike me for being a YouTuber and for making videos about their small town. That thought, honestly, has never crossed my mind. When he told me this, I didn't really know how to handle that information. Well, okay, first I went into denial, and then I went into problem-solving mode. I don't know if any of you have watched the Jeremy Clarkson's Farm TV show on Amazon. I really like that TV show. It really makes me happy. Jeremy Clarkson of Top Gear fame. In a spin-off show, he makes a farm and he's trying his best to be a very, very public figure while making his farm successful. But unfortunately, the townspeople don't really like what he's done to the town. He's brought more people. It's not so quiet anymore. A lot of them, in my opinion, are jealous of the success of his farm, even though it seems like he tries to spread the joy and the opportunity by helping all the farms around him succeed, especially the ones that are really struggling. But unfortunately, the townspeople really don't like him. They've never really met him, but they have all these preconceived notions about who he is. He's this rich guy who is taking advantage of their little farming town. They think it's just some TV show just for jokes, or I don't know what they think. But the main point of it is they don't like him, and there really wasn't anything he can do about it other than he called it his Win the Hearts and Mind campaign, where he tries to win them over by being a good neighbor. And it doesn't really work. They still don't like him. My takeaway from all that is that maybe the same is the case for me. There's nothing I can do if people dislike me in this town other than to try my best to just simply exist and be kind. So here is the main thing that I worry about. The best and worst case scenario that would happen. The best case scenario is I make a friend, maybe even more than one. That would be great. The worst case scenario is I mess up these relationships. And because it's a small town and everyone knows each other, word will spread that I am an awful human being that nobody likes. And then I'm going to have to escape this town. I will be the outcast and forever hated. I'm destined to be alone. A pretty high risk, high reward kind of thing, don't you think? Again, you might be thinking, why would I be doing this to myself? Why would I torture myself like this? Because I think the risk is worth it. So recently I went home again to visit family. I learned an interesting thing about my parents who are retired. My parents have never been very sociable people. I never really knew them to have friends throughout my entire life, especially my dad, who I take after. In fact, I think he's probably worse than me socially. When I went home, they couldn't hang out with us for a day because they were going to a ping pong tournament with other seniors. I thought that was the cutest, sweetest thing, and I was so happy for them. When I was growing up, I really thought that they were going to be alone. But lo and behold, even my hopelessly antisocial parents who can't speak English very well were able to make friends and to have something to do and other people to see in their old age. Meanwhile, there's me, hopelessly alone with no friends. My goal for myself is that when I reach their age, I will have friends as well. For me, I have been pursuing and making friendships and making relationships in Hollywood probably since I was 17. And I had been doing all of this all the way up until 26. For all those many years, I thought these people were my friends. I thought I was building something meaningful. Turns out, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. A lot of the people that have talked shit about me online have mocked me. We were friendly. I've invited them to get dim sum with me. And yet, I wasn't able to see that they actually hated me. There's a part of me that's really, really scared that that's going to happen again. I also acknowledge that what happened to me is not exactly normal. And it's not every day that an entire industry uses the full force of their influential people to try to cancel me. That is a very abnormal thing, something that most people are probably not going to experience, and it's highly unlikely that that's going to happen to me again. So in a lot of ways, I'm trying to prove to myself I shouldn't fear people and interacting with people, and I need to get over it. I guess the point is that I'm not gonna stop trying, that it's important to not stop trying and to just give up on people. I hope that everything is gonna turn out well. Maybe you have some advice for me on how I should navigate all of this, but this is going to be a very interesting thing. Going back to school at 30. Wish me luck.